Hello everyone, Coffee here. Today I'm going to give a full guide on the installation and setup of the Coffee Auto Patcher. I'm going to go ahead and take over from the step after you have already set up Amazon AWS and your Amazon S3 bucket. For those that are using a FTP or a different CDN, those steps aren't used anyways. So after you have opened up Unity and opened up a brand new project, you're going to just open up a new empty project, name it whatever you want for the name for your patcher to be. For me, I just named mine Coffee Auto Patcher. All right, so first thing after we set up a brand new project within Unity and import in the Coffee Auto Patcher folder, we're going to go to the source files folder. We're going to go ahead and navigate to it, and we're going to go ahead and just cut this out of here. And we're going to move it out of the assets folder so the game doesn't try to load it. We can just go ahead and paste it in here for now. Let's go ahead into the source files. We're going to unzip the coffee patch deploy zip. And let's go ahead and just extract it here. From here, we're going to go ahead and launch the Coffee Patch Deploy app. Also included in here is as an alternate a WPF launcher for builds that are using Windows. It will work on that if you want to customize it. It's not going to have as much of the functionality built into it already that the Unity patcher has, but you're more than welcome to basically expand the source as you do. So we're going to go ahead and open up the Coffee Patch Deploy app. We're going to go ahead and open this Coffee one-click update here. So from here, we're going to go ahead and set the S3 auth keys path based off of where we already saved these from earlier in the guide. Then for the build output folder, we're going to go ahead and browse to the folder that we're going to be putting both the build of our patcher and the build of our game in. So we're going to go ahead and select this folder. And then we're going to put in the full name of our game. So for my game, it's coffeegamedemo.exe. If you're using a Mac build, then it will not have any file extension in the end at all. This is going to be the file that's located within your game.app folder and then contents Mac OS, and then it will have basically the root of your game and it will not have any file extension. And if this is for a Linux build, it will have either .x86 or .x86-64 depending on if it's 32-bit or 64-bit. So since this is a Windows build, we're going to leave it as .exe. Then for the S3 bucket name, you're going to go ahead and put in the bucket name for your Amazon S3 bucket. And mine here is set here, and then my bucket region, I've already have it set as well. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and click where it says Get Server Path. And this is going to give me the full path to the file list that is going to be generated upon uploading the patcher and the game. So we're going to back out of the deployment application for now. We're going to go ahead and leave it open. That's fine. So we're going to go back to Unity. First thing, your patcher is probably going to look all skewed like this. So first thing we're going to want to go into File, Build Settings, Player Settings. We're going to go ahead and uncheck the box for default as full screen. By default, the setup for the patcher is you're going to want to set the height or the width to 720 and the height to 400, and you're going to want to check the box for run in background. If you have an icon that you want to be using for your patcher, this is where you're going to go ahead and set it. Company name, go ahead and feel free to put your company name. For mine, I just put Coffee BNS. And then under the product name, just whatever you're going to be using for the name for your patcher. So mine is Coffee Auto Patcher Demo. And then we're going to go ahead and be done in here for now. So we'll go ahead and set this aside. If you want to customize it and you want to get it set to how it's going to look in game, change the aspect here to standalone. So this will be the standalone basically build size you're going to be using. And then we're going to go ahead and go to scenes. You're going to open up the Coffee Auto Patcher scene is what you're going to want to be opening. From here, you're going to see a few things up top. You're going to want to go ahead and click on the patch operator. And that is going to have the patch operator script on it. So the server file list URL here, you're going to go ahead and just paste in the file list, or the URL that was generated by the Coffee one-click update application. So for your full game exe name, you're just going to put in the full executable name of your game. So for mine, it's just coffeegamedemo.exe. And for my patcher name, I'm just going to use coffeeautopatcher.exe. If you're going to use a different name for your patcher, feel free to put it in here. And then under your build operating system, just select which operating system you're building for. So I'm going to be building for Windows for this first build, so I'm going to build with that. If I were selecting Mac, then I would have to make sure that the exe names for both the game and the patcher reflect the proper extension types for the operating system I'm building for. So for Macintosh, it will not have any extension on the end, and for Linux, it will be .x86 or .x86_64, depending on if it's 32-bit or 64. So now that we have this configured, we're going to go ahead and build a copy of the patcher to our build folder. So for my game build folder, it's going to be in this Coffee Auto Patcher Demo Windows Test folder. So I'm going to build it as coffeeautopatcher.exe. Just make sure this matches whatever you have in this full patcher exe name here, and then go ahead and click save, and it will go ahead and build your patcher. From here, just make sure you clicked Add Open Scene to get this Coffee Auto Patcher scene as the first scene in your game. So we're not going to be able to do anything with the patcher yet because we haven't actually built our game to this folder yet. So now we're going to go ahead and open up our second copy of Unity, and we're going to go to we're just going to open up our game in Unity, or our project. We're going to go ahead and import in the Coffee Auto Patcher project. Again, I have a copy of it here because I haven't pushed this up yet. So bear with me a second. Let's go ahead. We're going to navigate to this. So for you, you'll just be able to find it in the asset store under the downloads here, where you've already downloaded it. Since I'm using the newer version of the patcher that hasn't been pushed to Unity yet, I have to load it a different way. So let's go ahead and pull it up. It's going to be the Coffee Auto Patcher package. So within your game, you're not going to want to import everything. So you're going to uncheck both of these, and then the only thing you're going to want to import into your game is this folder that says Coffee Game Files. So this is going to contain everything you need to put within your game. So you're going to select this Coffee Game Files, and you can also, and then you're going to go ahead and click Import from here. Now that you have the Coffee Game Files imported into your game, you're going to go ahead and open up the Coffee Game Files folder. You're going to go to Scenes, and you're going to want to open up the Update Example scene. This is going to be the scene that is used to update your game. So I haven't set anything for this game yet, so we'll just leave it at the 1024 by 768. The default update scene doesn't have much to it. It just basically has a spinner that mentions that it's checking for updates. So first things first here, we're going to go ahead. If you want to customize this at all, you're more than welcome to do so. If not, first thing we want to do, we want to go up to File, Build Settings. We're going to want to add this open scene, and we're going to want to make sure we move it to scene 0. So this has to be the first scene that basically gets loaded when you launch your game. So we're going to set that to scene 0, and we can go ahead and back out of the build settings. Then we're going to go ahead and click on the update operator here. You'll notice this looks very similar to the patch operator that we were working with earlier. The same server file list URL. We're going to be able to paste that right into here. And this is going to be the exact same URL that we have in the patch operator. For the game full exe, we're going to put just the full executable name that we're using for our game, the same thing we put in the patch operator. So we're going to go ahead and put coffee game demo.exe, and then we got coffee_autopatcher.exe. Build operating system, we're still using Windows. If we were using a different build, we could change that here. These checkboxes here, if you uncheck the box for check for updates, basically it will just bypass the update screen and it won't check for updates at all. And then check for launcher updates is going to be whether or not you want your game to patch your launcher. If you have it set to where you're never going to change your launcher outside of the first time you build it and ship it out to your clients, then you can go ahead and leave that box unchecked and it will never try to patch the launcher at all. It will only try to basically update your game and check for updates to your game. So now that we have these checked, we're going to go ahead and make a build of our game. Now that we have this update scene set as the first scene in our game, we're going to go ahead and go to build settings here. We're going to go ahead and build, and we're going to just make sure that we build this to the exact same folder as our patcher. So for me, this is the Coffee Auto Patcher demo, Windows test, and this you'll see our patcher in here. So this is the coffee game demo.exe. We're going to go ahead and click save. Alright, now that we have our game and patcher built, if we want to go ahead and include a changelog, we just basically need to include any file here that's called changelog.txt. I actually included a sample one in the source files folder. So if you want to go ahead and go back to the source files folder, you can just copy the changelog and go ahead and paste it back into the same path as your build folder. So the changelog here, it's just basically very simple. It has just a little template. You can use any template you want for your changelog. I wrote a simple one here that just basically has a couple little notes for the changelog. So now that we have the changelog here and everything in this folder, we're going to go back to the Coffee one-click update program. Once you have all these things set, you're going to go ahead and click upload patch. And the first time you click this, it's going to have to upload each file because you don't have anything uploaded yet. So the first upload is going to take a little bit of time, but after that, whenever you make changes, it's only going to update the files that we make changes to. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate this after we finish this update. So let's go ahead and let this update run, and we'll go ahead and give it some time. Alright, you'll see here that once it finishes, it's going to have generated a new file list. Here, this is the file list that was uploaded to the server. Go ahead and close that. And now that this has been uploaded to the server, we're going to go ahead and we can go ahead and run our game here as a test. So the first time when we launch our game, if this is the version that has been basically already sent to the server, if this is the one that gets packaged up and you haven't pushed out any updates, when you first launch the game, it's going to run the update scene. It's going to check if there's any updates, and if there isn't, it's just going to go ahead and move on to the next scene. So in this version, you can see this is the exact version of the game that is uploaded to the server. So we're not going to have anything here. So let's go ahead and close out the game, and let's go ahead and we can even close out the, well, we can leave that open, that's fine. So let's go ahead and make a copy of this game. So it's going to be new folder, Windows, test old. So let's go ahead and copy all these files in here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a change to our game to basically show that the patcher is working. So let's go ahead and go into the other scenes. I'm going to go back to my other scene in the game. Let's just change the background to a different color. Let's make it green. So basically show that it has been updated. It's now green. Okay. And let's go ahead and, sure, let's make this darker too. Okay. Updated. Why not? Oh, let's make the height bigger on this now. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this. Let's go to File, Build Settings. Let's go ahead and build our game. So we're going to go ahead and build it to the same Windows test folder. Let's go ahead and save the game here. Click Yes. It's going to go ahead and build your game now that it'll be here. So now that we've built the new copy of our game, so say you have an update to your game, you're just going to go ahead and open up the Coffee one-click update file. You're going to go ahead and click Upload Patch, and it's going to look, and you'll see, notice it was much faster this time because it only had to update 3 files. So this time it uploaded just the files that changed, and it finished the update. So now the Windows test folder is up to date and matches what's on the server, but the Windows test old is still our old build of the game. So let's go ahead and open up the game. Let's go ahead and click play. It's going to go ahead and check for updates. It's going to realize there's updates that need to be ran, so it's going to immediately boot up the patcher. It's going to patch the game, and then it is going to start the game back up once it's done. And now it's going to check. It's going to realize there's no updates, and it will have the updated version of the game. So it's as simple as that. Whenever you have updates to push out to your users, that's all it takes. It's going to be one click once everything's configured, which makes things easy and fast for you and ensures that you can get your new patches out to your players as soon as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and now demonstrate using this on Macintosh. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and demonstrate the setup for Macintosh, or for Mac builds. So the only things we're going to do differently, we're going to go into the patch operator, and under the full game exe name, we're going to basically be just listing the name of our game but without any extension on the end. So for the patcher, it's just going to be Coffee Auto Patcher, and for the full game exe, it's just going to be Coffee Game Demo. We're going to make sure that we change the build operating system down here to Mac. And then we have to open up the Coffee Patch Deploy. We got to make sure we edit this for where we're going to be outputting to. So for our Mac build, we're going to be building to the Mac test folder. I'm going to go ahead and select that. The main exe file name is just going to be Coffee Game Demo. And the bucket name for mine is Mac Test. So we're going to go ahead and get the server path for this one. And then we're going to paste that up here into the server file STURL. Verify this is the correct path. Build operating system is set to Mac. And these are both set with no extension since this is a Mac build. We're going to go to File, Build Settings. We're going to go ahead and change the platform to Mac. And we're going to go ahead and build. And we are going to build it to whichever folder we're using. Select a new folder that we're going to build it to. So we're going to name ours Coffee Auto Patcher.app. And we're going to build it to this folder. There we go. So when you select a Mac build, you're going to want to select the folder that you have, and you're actually going to make the app folder for your game. So whatever you're going to use for the name of your game, which is basically whatever you put in the patch operator, but you're going to end it in .app, and that is going to be your folder for your game. And then in the contents, Mac OS is where you're going to see that Coffee Auto Patcher with no extension on the end. So let's go ahead and back out of this Mac test folder. Let's go ahead and make the folder we're going to use for our game in here as well. This is going to be Coffee Game Demo.app. And let's go ahead and go over to our game now. And let's go back into the update example scene that is set as our boot scene. We're going to go to the update operator here. We're going to update this for the Mac server file list that we're using. Gameful.exe, we're going to remember to remove the extensions since this is a Mac build and change this to Mac. Save our scene, go to File, Build Settings. We're going to go ahead and build for Mac OS X. And we're going to go ahead and click Build. And we're just going to make sure we navigate over to that .app folder that we made for our game. So we got a Coffee Game Demo app right here. Select folder. This will go ahead and build to that. And then, now that you have your two folders here, you're going to go ahead and open up the Coffee one-click update, and this is what you will go ahead and upload to the server. So this is going to take a little bit of time, so we'll go ahead and speed up through this, and then we'll continue after it's done. Alright, so now that you have your Mac build pushed out with and updated to your server, one of the important distinctions with the way that Mac handles applications versus Windows and Linux is when you initially send out your game to your clients, the package that you send out will have to be the launcher and the full game itself. It doesn't have to be your most up-to-date version of your game. That will update, but there has to be basically a signed working version of the app that gets put on the machine at first before it will properly update the applications. So we have the updated version here. You're going to go ahead and see. We're going to go to my Mac build that I've already copied everything over older builds of. And then we're just going to go ahead and run the game demo. And you're going to see the game demo is going to immediately recognize that it is not up to date. It's going to close itself. It's going to boot up the launcher just like on the Windows builds. And then the auto patcher itself is going to patch. And then it's going to immediately update the game and then relaunch the game and close the patcher. And now you'll see the Mac build is up to date as well. Not much difference over the Windows build. It's just setting the operating system and ensuring that you are naming the folders that you're going to be building to, and ensuring that you're building both those folders to the same root directory for your patcher and your game. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to Linux builds. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and do the build for Linux. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to go to the Coffee Auto Patcher scene within our patcher project. We're going to go to the patch operator. We're going to make sure we change this to Linux because we're going to be building 32-bit versions. So the full game exe for our game is going to be .x86, and the full patcher exe name is going to be .x86 because that's what we have for Linux builds. We're going to go ahead and open up the Coffee one-click update. Make sure we change the main exe file name to match the file extension for Linux build, which is .x86. And then we're going to change this to Linux test, because that's what we have for my folder. Yours was going to be different. This is just going to be mine. I'm going to use this to generate server path. We're going to go ahead and paste this on the top of our patcher. We're going to go ahead and save that. And now we are ready to build the patcher. Make sure we change this over to Linux. We'll leave it as x86. If you are going to use a 64-bit build of your game, then you are going to basically end up changing the extension on the end. And let's go ahead and build this. And I am not building to that Linux test folder. Let's go to this other one, Coffee Auto Patcher Demo, Linux test, and save this. Important distinction as well, we're going to have to make sure we change this build output folder here. Make sure we change this over to Linux test as well, otherwise we'll run into some weird stuff. So, now that we have the patcher built, let's go ahead and go back to our game. And since this first one is going to be the unupdated build, I'm going to go ahead and change this to not updated, and we'll change it back to red. So this will be the first one we boot as. We'll go ahead and save this. Let's go into the update example scene. Again, go back to the update operator. We're going to paste in the new file list, which is still this Linux test/file list. Change the build operating system to Linux. And we're going to go ahead and save this. We'll go ahead, file, build settings. We're going to go ahead and build to Linux this time. We will build. We're going to build. And then we're going to let it navigate back to the folder for Linux test. And this is going to be coffee game demo. Oh, let's cancel back out of this first. So gameful.exe, we need to change this .x86. And same with the patcher.exe.x86. Save that. Now we're going to go ahead and build it. Almost missed that. Linux test coffee game demo. Go ahead and save. Alright, so we see we have our game demo, our auto patcher here. Let's go ahead and copy over a changelog from one of the other folders as well. Just make sure you have a changelog in the root directory. And we can go ahead and we'll change this to Linux client release and save that. And now that we have this folder, we can go ahead and take the coffee auto deploy or one-click update. Let's verify the path is Linux test. Yes. Main exe is coffeegamedemo.exe or .x86. And let's go ahead and upload. Updated files. So let's go to the game demo here. Let's go to the properties. We've got to change permissions. We got to allow to execute this as a program. And go ahead and close that. Same thing, properties here. Got to make sure we can allow this to execute as a program. So go ahead, run the game. Notice the game here, it's going to check for updates. Shouldn't find any, and it's just going to go ahead and boot up the game. So let's go ahead and we'll show the patcher here. Works as well. Shouldn't find any updates. We'll just go ahead and immediately run the game. So let's go ahead and close the game down. We're going to go into the auto patcher. Let's just, I don't know, let's just delete these files. That's fine. Delete. They're gone. Okay. So the patcher is going to be broken now. It won't work. It should break. And it should just fail to do anything because we deleted out the files. So let's go back into the game. When we boot the game, it is going to check for updates. It's going to find updates to the patcher that it just downloaded right there. So we're going to go ahead and close this. When we go back and boot the patcher now, the patcher will have those files we just deleted, and they will be updated, and the patcher will work again. So let's close that before it launches the game. So first things first, let's go ahead and... Alright, so now that we've tested the patcher, we're going to go ahead and take this updated version of the game we have here. We're going to go ahead and build it to our folder. And once this is built, we are going to go ahead and push the update to the server. So now that the update has been pushed to the server, just a few files there, so it goes very quickly. We're going to go ahead and go back to the VM. We're going to go ahead and run our game. Let's go ahead and make sure the permissions, yep. And we're going to go ahead and run our game. The game itself is going to check for any updates to the launcher. If there's any launcher updates, it will do those. Then it's going to boot up the patcher because there are game updates that need to be ran. And then we can go ahead and hit play to boot the game back up. And now that it has updated itself with the patcher, it is going to just launch the game and show you that it is updated now. And that is all you have to do. So the setup is very similar for all the operating systems. It's just a few little settings you need to change in there. Make sure you're correcting for the proper build paths for each one of your builds. Make sure you're setting the build operating system to the proper thing. And then you can fully deploy your game on all three operating systems with ease. Other than that, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to pop on the Discord, and I'll be more than happy to answer them anytime I'm available. Thanks. You can find a link in the comments below to purchase the Coffee Auto Patcher from coffeebns.com or the Unity Asset Store.